Individually called, yes.
So that is what one wants to try to watch for, right? When that authorization happens and when it releases. So that you don't get caught with something that's become too rigid, and then the God has to let one loose on top of the roof of the church.
As many people, I think many church leaders are dealing with this right now. Not just some of the churches I'm familiar with, but many of the churches in the world today are in decline, are losing numbers and are shrinking, and they don't know how to deal with shrinkage because they're not used to it. They're used to growth, and it's like, oh, what do we do when we only have 5 members to support this huge building now?
You drive through LA and in Glendale, but there are all these Masonic Lodge buildings, and they're extraordinary. But they were built at a time where I think there was this, I was thinking when there was community, there was a sense of community. Now it's all falling away. As a magician, I learned through a mentor, through this fellow Scott Hollingsworth, and I had a crush on his wife. I was 9, and he, this booming charismatic voice, and it had all of that anima, all that particularity of imagination and unique eros between us, and now many learned from DVDs. And now the Masonic lodges, which arose out of a living sense of community, it's no longer that sense of citizenship and community is falling away in local communities, where you can get up and move to another community like that, so you don't put down roots.
Right.
And there's a tremendous loss.
Yes. Yeah, because if you don't stay long enough to invest in the community, and the community is not invested in you, it's a vicious cycle that no one then is willing to extend themselves in that mutual reciprocity system that has kept so many cultures alive for so long. It is a terrible loss.
And it seems very dark. It seems to threaten the stability of society itself. There are other aspects of this online world that I'm sure will show their brightness and their beauty, and like ways that actually online connection are enhancing civilization in ways that we're not even quite aware of yet. But there's definitely a shift. It's hard to not call it a loss of this one great sense of personal living community. I mean, virtual reality is virtual, and it is not.
It doesn't feed the body or the soul in the same way.
Right.
And did you notice that we started our conversation almost extolling the virtues of schism? That it's important, that it's necessary. And now we seem to have shifted and moved over to the place of some of the bodily sorrow and sadness and longing that exists in a world torn by schisms, that we feel the separation very acutely and yearn for something that we imagine could be, should be, might have been, might still be. But in these polarities, and again, I mean, this conversation is taking place the summer of 2015, and we have another political election coming up next year, so we're in the throes of that agony. But what I have sensed, and what I've even felt in myself, are those knee-jerk reactions. When you look at things happening and you say, that's not me. I would never say that, do that, be that, go there. That's not me. And you see it from the other side. The rejection of, a socialist, that's not me. And I represent America, so that's not us. And so everybody rejecting what appears to be beyond their comfort zone. So I've tried to make a practice of just saying, okay, some aspect of that is me, by virtue of my being in this country. Some part of that is me.
Sure.
What part of that is me? And this is a very frightening process.
Yeah.
What part of me would take a gun and go into a church where I was invited to sit with people in communion and then pull out a gun and shoot them? What part of me would do that? I mean, this is a very terrifying exercise. It's, like Jung's descent into his own personal hell. Doing things, hanging out with people you would never imagine yourself being or doing. And yet, to heal a schism as huge as what we have in this country, some form of holding the little tensions wherever we can
Sure.
seems to be necessary. But what I feel, what I sense, and partly coming from Chicago, Barack Obama's homeland, it feels as if he has catalyzed an enormous amount of shit from the underworld. Because the assault to the white male ego in the South must be unbelievable.
Interesting.
Just incredibly painful. That the highest titled figure in the land, and to alienate him even more, the insistence that he's not really American, that in fact he's not even Christian, he must be a Muslim. You know, anything possible to demonize
Evidence
and
aside.
alienate him. He's not me. He can't represent me. It's too different. And yet Obama, in his person, is someone who contains the energy, which is astonishing to me and anyone who has seen how much garbage gets thrown at him. But because he can contain it, it means that it's having to cook its way deeper into the country. The very fact that killing a black man by a policeman is now news is really news for the psyche. Because for how many decades was that not even newsworthy? But now it is. Now it's on the radar. We are now collectively conscious of what we are doing. That our hate killings are basically pulling out 1/5 of an entire race in this country on a daily basis.